2 weeks ago, I think it's been 3 weeks now, I preached on the God of your dreams. And Father, I just thank you for today. I thank you for healing me. I thank you that you've healed all of us. Those in this room, Father, that just need a touch of grace in their bodies. I thank you, even as we sit here today, that you heal us. And I thank you, Father, for your word, Jesus, who goes before us and who's in us and surrounds us, and the presence that you give us of your sweet spirit in this room. In Jesus' name. But a few weeks ago, I was preaching on the God of your dreams and how every one of us have dreams. JJ, throw the picture of that little baby up. I really like her. Isn't she sweet? She's so sweet. I look at her every single night before I go to bed, and I see her in the morning. She's right by my bed. And you know, when I look into that baby's eyes, I see curiousness, I see hope, I see innocence, I see love. I see so many things in the face of that baby. And I have literally fallen in love with that baby. There's times I think to myself, if I could just hold her. But I can't, because she's me. But when you look at that baby, when I look at her, I see newness of life. I see a sweet infant that has not been affected by life at all. And I see a little bit of heaven. I see that sweet presence of heaven. You know, today during worship, and I won't go into it, but too detailed, but when I was little, I had went to spend the night at someone's house. I was only 4, and it was my first time away from home. And I'd never gone anywhere to spend the night. And I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and cried until the people got up and took me home like 1 o'clock in the morning, 12:30, 1 o'clock. I don't know, it was dark. Put me in the car, they're like, oh, get in. And it was quite a long drive. It was like a 40-minute drive to take me home. And I was sitting there this morning, that all came back to me. And I thought, Lord, why did the little 4-year-old cry and cry and cry and cry and cry? They want the security of home. They want the security of their parents. And it was like the Holy Spirit was speaking to me, you got to trust yourself. There was a reason why that little 4-year-old was crying. And I think I got a clue, but I won't share why. But I think I have a clue, and it was for protection. And I was telling Tasha yesterday, I've always had this part of me. There's always been an instinctive part in me that's been very protective. My whole life, I can sense danger, sense things that are wrong, out of order, something's wrong with that person, or something's wrong with this situation, or we need not to do this. You know, don't go here. I don't know why, just don't go here. And it's not all the time. I mean, if I was a paranoid person, you would learn not to trust me. You know, like, oh my gosh, don't ride that bike down that road because you might, you know. No, that's not how I operate. But there's been times in my life that I can literally say I've been instinctively warned to give warning to or to give heed to. And that's part of that little girl that's in there. That's part of my makeup. And I'm learning to embrace every part of me and actually not despise it and not make light of it. It's just who God made me to be. But that baby had dreams. I mean, maybe my dreams was just, I need milk. I don't know. But you start out so fresh and so new, and you start out so innocent in life. And I want to read you a poem. I wrote this poem when Danae was 4. And I used her little picture, which, I mean, you can see her on the beach. She was building sand castles. And as she was building sandcastles, I'm watching this sweet little girl. She had made quite a few. I mean, she was working on her 4th sandcastle on Frankfurt Beach. And I'm watching her, and this poem is so perfect for today, for what I want to share. It says, she sat on the beach building castles. Now, this isn't about today, but it inspired me. You know, the little girls that has dreams and hopes. She sat on the beach building castles. Like her dreams, they were made out of sand. With wonder she fashioned and formed them, till each one complete by her hand. As sunset and stillness came calling, she watched as the ocean changed tide. It's not the ocean, I know. With each wave, her castles were crumbling, reminding of dreams that had died. When days of her childhood would surface, the memories of how it had been, the dreams of a child and her future had changed so much from back then. It seems that she lost those first moments where wonder and awe filled her heart. When life was such an adventure, now boredom is such a great part. How can she recover old feelings when life had expectancy? With each morning sunrise until it went down, she lived life with fervency. Somehow she has forgotten the little girl she used to be. Her innocence gone, no longer the song her heart sang so frequently. Now darkness and sorrow surround her, shrouding the life in her eyes. Her smiles are strained yet familiar because of her heart's compromise. Yet I see off in the distance a man waiting patiently. His eyes are full of compassion. He loves unconditionally. He knows just how to find her, the little girl lost deep inside. Love reaches past the false pretense, even past fear and her pride. Gently he kneels beside her, wiping the tears off her cheek, whispering the wisdom she longs for, strengthening where she had grown weak, watching his hands form and fashion, rebuilding her castles of sand. Smiling and laughing, she helps him, accepting his will and his plan. Together, again, they are walking. The little girl holds on his hand. They will journey this life with each other as footprints are left in the sand. You know, we start out life sometimes with a bang. We have all these dreams, and even those that don't know Jesus have hopes and dreams. And then it seems at times that the ocean just flattens our castles. And life is a journey, and it takes us through all kinds of twists and turns. And I think if I can do anything this morning is encourage you to keep dreaming. Keep holding on to those things that God has put in your heart. If you feel like you've been in a place where, you know what, the ocean's just kind of swept my castles away, just remember that Jesus is a beautiful sandcastle builder. BJ, come up here really quick this morning and share with me. You shared something with me I want you to share with, because it goes perfect with what I think God is saying, how the change happens in us. Just for a minute, just do that. It was really good.
I've known for years that I'm loved, that Jesus loved me. I've known for years throughout all my teaching that I'm saved by grace, and my sins were forgiven. But during song service this morning, he revealed something to me that I've never thought of in this matter. He cleaned my heart. He gave me a new heart. He washed it clean. But what I had never thought of before is he left it with no scars. I never realized that. I don't have any scars. My heart is like it was the day I was born.
Yeah.
Clean, fresh, renewed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just that little baby, he wants to take us back to the childlike faith. He wants to take us, even in the journey of life, that we can stay. Well, I should take this off, sorry. that we can stay innocent and we can stay hopeful and have those wide eyes of anticipation when it comes to the Father. There is something about babies. I just love babies. I love them. I love newborns. I was watching Israel's video this week of his birth, and I'm in the kitchen crying over it. You know, it's been 18 years. And I just got his birth video from my niece. She's like, get tissue with you because you're going to cry. And I did, because there's just something so beautiful about that little tiny baby. Obviously, he's 18 and he's tall, and I still tackle him and hug him. But, you know, I have to tackle him now and hug him. Where before, he was helpless to my hugs and kisses. I just held him and hugged and kissed him whenever I wanted. So there's something so precious about that. I wanted this morning go to Genesis 37, just for a minute. I don't know how long I'm going to, probably not that long, going to try to squeak out stuff. I told Pastor Darren, I almost called you today. I said, hey, you might have to fill in for me. He's like, no, I was in the driveway for an hour trying to get out of their driveway. Well, thank you for doing that and getting here and probably opening the building and shoveling out here too. You're amazing. Genesis 37, verse 5. And I'm just going to read this because I love the book of Genesis. I love stories. And Genesis is one big story. There's so many stories in Genesis. So I've always enjoyed the book of Genesis. But it says, now Joseph had a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him even more. Sheesh. It's a great way to, obviously start out. We're jumping in the middle. Genesis 37, verse 5, it says, so he said to them, please hear the dream which I have dreamed. That's the thing with dreams. When you have dreams and you're excited about them, or you have a dream, you like to tell somebody. You want to tell somebody. I mean, I got to just insert this. My husband, put up stink fans this week. And yesterday we're in the car and we're coming back from town. He goes, do you want to stop and see the stink fans? I'm like, no. I don't care about the stink fans. Honey, we took hours to put these stink fans in. I'm like, I don't want to see them. I don't want to go to the church to see the stink fans. He's like, but we have to drop off the stove or the oven. You could come in and see my stink fans. And I just sat in the car. I didn't feel like going in and seeing the stink fans. I know that was probably wrong, and I was Marco Poloing Jenny. And she said to me, she goes, I can relate. I'm with Tim on this one. I'm totally with Tim, because she'll Marco Polo me all the stuff she's done in her house. I'm like, look, and I'm doing this, and I pulled out the trim in the bathroom, and look at the hole in the bathroom floor. She shows it all to me, and I watch it. I said, yeah, but Jenny, you're Marco Poloing it, and I don't have to move from the seat. I don't have to get up and go anywhere. So now he's going to learn how to Marco Polo me. But see, you want to tell somebody. When you have a dream, when you're excited about something, you really do want to tell someone. I want him to tell me, I just want him to do it electronically now, for right now. Joseph said, please hear the dream. There we were binding sheaves in the field. Then behold, my sheaf arose, and it stood upright. And indeed, your sheaves stood all around and bowed down to mine. Well, I'm loving this dream. And his brother said, shall you indeed reign over us? See, they already knew the interpretation. Dreams were really big back in the Jewish culture. You had a dream, and it was like God talking to you. And they knew it. And they're like, so shall you indeed reign over us? Or shall you indeed have dominion over us? So they hated him even more for his dream and for his words. I like the word, the thing you catch in here, guys, they hated him even more. They hated him before the dream. But now they hated him more. Joseph was not like the favorite of the family. There was 12 of them. And he was like the dirt between their toes. They did not like Joe. He was the second to the youngest. He was the dream of his father by his first love and Rebecca. And all the other kids were by Leah. except for Joseph and Benjamin. And Rebekah was loved greatly by her husband. So you have family rivalry going on. You have kids that are kind of, they're vying for attention from their dad. They weren't liking each other very much. You had what? I think there was 13 of them altogether. Or is it just 12? It was just 12. I want to say Benjamin was 13, but I'm wrong. But 12 tribes of Israel. Let's make it 13. But anyways, you have these 10 siblings that really are against the other two. They weren't in love with them very much. So then he dreamed another dream. It wasn't enough to have one. God gives him two. So he dreams another dream, and he tells this one to his brothers. Either Joseph was really dumb and could not read body language, he was a little thick-skulled when it came to his family, or he literally loved getting under their skin. I'm not sure which. So he says, look, I've dreamed another dream. This time the sun and the moon and the 11 stars bowed down to me. So he told it to his father and his brothers, and now his father rebukes him and says, what is this dream that you've dreamed? Shall your mother and I and your brothers indeed come to bow down to the earth before you? So see, now his dad knows the sun and the moon and the stars represented who? Israel. The sun, the moon, and the stars represented his dad, his mom, and his brothers. See, when we read that, we're like, the sun and the moon and the stars are going to bow down? How's that going to happen? Yeah. But their Bible interpretation, the Bible interprets itself. Right. If you read it, if you read it in that way, you'll find out, oh, that's what that means. So he's telling them, you're saying we're going to bow down. I don't think he was very happy. And his brothers envied him, but his father kept the matter in mind. So Daddy was a little smarter, probably age, Probably should pay attention to this. This kid's having dreams. And I know that he's a pretty special kid. So Daddy keeps it in mind. Some can see the gift on you, and some will just believe in you because they love you. Some actually will see the gift in your life and say, you've got this grace on you, and you might not see it. You may not know it. And others, they'll just, whatever, dear, whatever you want to be, you can be. I know if you've just Googled great men and women that were believed in by their parents, that seemingly had nothing, and yet they rose to such a greatness. And there's always that mom and dad voice behind them going, you can be the president if you want. And you can. You can be whatever you want in life. And you can achieve so many things if you believe in yourself. And you believe in your dreams. I got a cup yesterday from my friend, and it said, believe in yourself. And it's going to be one of my very favorites. I just brought it in from the car this morning, and looking at it, I'm like, this just does something to my heart. Believe in yourself. People will say, well, that's arrogant. Can't believe in yourself. No, you need to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, others won't. People won't believe in you if you don't believe in you. Because you'll come off as, well, I have this business, but I don't really know if you want me to, you really want me to do this. I can do it, but by the time you're done, you have talked them out of whatever it is you do. That's one thing I learned from my sister. She almost talked too great sometimes of the things that she could do. Like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But people believed in it. They believed in her. So believe in yourself. So Joseph tells them this dream, and they're not very happy. Genesis 37:23 says, so it came to pass when Joseph had come to his brothers, they stripped him of his tunic, the tunic of many colors that was on him. They took him and they cast him in a pit. The pit was empty. There was no water in it. It's kind of one thing to have water in it. At least you'd hit the water. He hit the ground with a thud. And when I read this part of the pit with Joseph, here he is. He's sharing his dreams. He's not out there being too rude. Maybe this was too rude to them. But he's sharing his dreams with people that literally he was casting his pearls before swine, so to speak. People that did not believe in him, did not want anything to do with it. So he's off. He's bringing stuff to them. They're out in the field. What happens? They see him and they're like, hey, let's kill the guy. Let's just get rid of him. Throw him down in the pit. Only one brother, the oldest, Reuben. He's like, guys, we shouldn't do this. This is wrong. So finally, they've already committed, guys. They've already thrown him down in the pit. You know what happens when you throw your little brother in the pit? If you pull them out, oh, you were in so much trouble. When they go home and tell mom and dad, you're dead. You are dead meat. So they knew if we pull him out of this pit, we're dead with dad. We are in so much trouble. But if we leave him in the pit, he's going to die. So then, God happens to send by a caravan of nomads, so to speak. They were headed in to Egypt. I know. We'll sell him into slavery. We'll sell him. He can still live, but we'll just sell him. So they did. They pull him out of the pit, sell him into slavery. You guys know the story. They take his robe. They kill an animal. They put blood on the robe. And that coat was really important because that was the coat of many colors that, Jacob had made just for him. That's another thing that ticked him off. Daddy likes you more and made you a coat. Where's our coat? So they take home the coat to Dad and say, sorry, Dad, he died. We couldn't help it. It was an animal. Dad's in a total mental breakdown. He's in total despair for a very long time. The brothers didn't know he would respond that way. Like, Dad, get over it. You have all of us. No. You don't understand. Dad melted down. So they pull him out of the pit. He gets sold into slavery. I look at the slavery as an identity crisis. Sometimes in life we have really big dreams. His dream was my family's going to bow before me. Yeah. And the thing is his family judged that as bad. I don't want to bow before you. That's bad. But here's one of the things I've learned with even dreams. They're not good or bad. They just are. Circumstances in life, sometimes we go through things in life where we think, this was so bad when you're going through it. This is bad. I have so learned, it's taken me a while, to not judge something as good or bad. It just is. Because I have watched God too many times in circumstances that I judged bad bring about such good that I was grateful that I went through it. You're like, had I not gone through that, I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have changed here. I wouldn't be here today had I not gone through that. So that I thought was so horrible. Where are you, God? Why aren't you helping me here? And now I look back at it and I'm like, God, I see you all over in that situation. You didn't promise me that I wouldn't go through something bad. You were there with me and you led me in it and you brought me out to a different place that has changed my character and made me who I am. So now I'm grateful for that circumstance or situation. When you get to the place you can start looking back at things in your life and go, I'm actually grateful for that. I wasn't at the time. I was a little bit mad. But now I look back and I see where it's changed me and it's made me a different person and I needed it. Pain changes us the most, guys. When you get to a low place in life and you're in pain, look for change because it's about to come. Because usually humans don't change unless we're forced. Pain will change us. Like, oh my gosh, I need to change. You get to the place where you're like, I cannot fit in any of my clothes. My closet is pointless. And you're like, I've got to change. I've got to change. Or I remember my husband, I've been telling him, saying, honey, it hurts to eat. It hurts because when I eat, the food feels like it's sitting here and it wants to come back up. And we're just like, well, we just need to change. We're going to have to change. And so we did. You just have to. You're forced to. So sometimes that's just the way it is. I mean, you force yourself to change, and not everybody, but sometimes you just say, take the rein in my hands and do what needs to get done. So anyways, Genesis 37, it says, when the Midianite traders passed by, the brothers pulled Joseph up out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. And they took Joseph to Egypt. So, Joseph's getting out of the pit. He probably thought, oh, you guys were just joking. Or maybe he's really mad. And they pull him up out of the pit and they're like, no, we're not taking you home. You're a jerk. You're out of here. Now, Joseph can say this was a really bad day. Not only are you betrayed by your brothers who wanted to kill you, now you get to go into slavery. It's one thing to call names and, push you out of the circle and you don't get to play tag with us and no one's going to ever throw you the football. It's one of that thing. That's not nice. And that's not fun to go through in life. But it's another thing when your family literally says, we don't want you. We don't want you around. And we are going to get rid of you. That's a bad day. And so Joseph, it says so, Genesis 37:36. Now the Midianites had sold him in Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard. See, what Joseph didn't know was he was actually moving closer to the palace. He was dreaming of the palace, but he didn't know it was the palace. But on the way to the palace, there's always a pit. There's always a pit. There's always betrayal. On the way to your dreams, many times you'll find betrayal. You'll find the pit where people don't believe in your dream. They're not going to stand behind your dream. They're going to make fun of your dream. They're going to throw you in the pit. They're going to betray you. You're going to cast your pearls before swine. They're going to say, you can't. I don't think so. And you're going to have to hold on and believe in yourself and believe in the dreams that God has given you. That's what Joseph had to do. So on the way, they pull him out of the pit, and then he goes to Potiphar's. Now, Potiphar's house wasn't too bad because Potiphar liked Joseph. Joseph had some integrity. He was a good slave, and he worked hard. So Genesis 39 says, in the meantime, when he's at Potiphar's wife likes him. Joseph was eye candy to her. She's looking at Joseph like, this guy, he's sweet. My husband's got the pot belly going. Probably not, but, she's looking at Joseph like, he's pretty nice, he's sweet. And Joseph is like, I am no way. No. I am not that stupid. She didn't know that. So, she comes on to Joseph and he runs. He, where scripture says flee youthful lust, he ran. He didn't know what else to do. So it says in Genesis 39, so it was when the master, verse 19. So it was when the master heard the words which his wife spoke to him, saying, your servant did this to me after this manner, that his anger was aroused. Then Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, a place where the king's prisoners were confined, and he was there in prison. Oh, Joseph, I know it's a bad day. It's a bad day. But Joseph, think about it. You're in the prison of the king. You're closer to the palace. What? First of all, I'm in a pit. And now I go to Potiphar's house. I'm closer because Potiphar was an officer. He could have went to anybody's house, guys. He could have went to Joe Schmo from Kokomo that didn't know Pharaoh at all. But no, he went to Potiphar's house, who was an officer in Pharaoh's army. Why? God had him moving towards the palace. Now on the way, see, here's the thing with God. He'll give you a dream, and he never tells you what's in the middle. I call it a God trick. It's like, I've got great plans for you, but I'm not going to tell you what's here to here. I'm just going to tell you the beginning and the end, okay? The middle, you get to live the journey with me. See, we want to know the whole middle. And when we don't know the whole middle, we can get really offended sometimes at God, like, what are you doing? This is not what you said. it's kind of like, and I had said this a few weeks ago, when we went to Disney and then we had the light show, the light parades are amazing at night. It's so crowded, you're in one little spot. All you can see, especially if there's a corner, is what's in front of you. So you get to see Mickey and all the pretty stuff coming by and all the lights, but you can't see, you can see what went past, but you might not remember everything, but you can't see what's coming. God has a view from the top. He sees the beginning of the parade and he sees the end of the parade and everything in the middle. We just see what's in the middle at that time. We have tunnel vision sometimes and we forget what's gone by and we don't know what's at the end. So we can get really upset sometimes at God, like, what? So here's Joseph, he's in prison. But in verse 21 it says, and the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. Joseph I'm telling you, Potiphar liked him. Now he has favor in prison. You know, when you're in a bad place in life, I want you to know one thing, the favor of God is so in your life. Even in the worst circumstances, God has favor on your life. God's favor is on you. He looks at you, you are his son. He has not forgotten you are his daughter. He looks at you in those places and he wants you to remember. So what happens? Joe has favor. Chapter 41, verse 38. And Pharaoh said to his servants, can we find such a one as this? Now Pharaoh's had some dreams. We know the story. Pharaoh's had some dreams. He can't figure out the dreams. But see, Joseph has this grace. When he's in prison, he has this grace. He can interpret dreams. So he interprets dreams for a couple of his friends in jail. And one of the dreams turns out very favorably for the guy. He's like, I dreamed a dream. Joseph's like, tell me, because I've got this thing with dreams. Part of the grace gift. No matter where you are in life, I'm telling you, your grace gift will work. Even in your lowest place, sometimes it works the best. So he's in prison, and he's probably trying to remember his own dream. Because when you're in a place that's really low, sometimes all you have to pull out of your pocket are your dreams. You know, you're sitting there eating dirt food and living with rats. And you're trying to remember what God said. And it's really hard. See, Jesus, you know, here's the thing with Jesus. It says in Hebrews that for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame. So, right here, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, Hebrews 12, verse 2, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him. Here's the things, lest you become weary and discouraged in your soul, you've not resisted to bloodshed, striving against sin. So here's Jesus in his lowest place, but he has to consider the joy set before him. I wrote a poem on that. I should have brought it today. Excuse me. It's called Consider the Joy. Consider the joy. Jesus said, you know what? This really, really is difficult. This hurts. I'm in such a bad place emotionally, physically. This is horrible. The torture, the torment. But I'm going to think about the joy. I'm going to think about the Reagans. I'm going to think about the Alicias or the Dawns. I'm going to think about the Danaes, the Stephans, the Tims. I need to consider, and the Ties. Yeah, I have to consider what is set before me. So I'm going to endure the cross because of them. I'm going to consider Cindi. And sometimes you have to. You got to consider the end result, even in the lowest place of your life. So here's Joseph, he's encouraging himself, and he's telling dreams, and the dreams came to pass. One he told to a guy, he goes, oh, you're going back to Pharaoh. You're going to be restored. Yay, I like your dream. I like your interpretation. Sure enough, goes back and he's restored. The next guy's like, can you tell me my dream? I had a dream too. He's like, yeah, I'll tell you your dream. What is it? So he tells him his dream, and he goes, oh, your dream's not so good. You're going to die. Okay, I'm going to go to a different dreamer. I'm going to tell somebody else. Sure enough, he was killed. They killed him. So they knew Joseph was a dreamer, could interpret. They come to him, and Pharaoh's like, you know the story. Pharaoh says to him, bring Joseph. Can we find, after he interprets the dreams in verse 38 of chapter 41, Pharaoh said to his servants, can we find such a one as this, a man in whom is the Spirit of God? Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, insomuch as God has shown you all of this, there is no one as discerning and as wise as you. You will be over my house, and all of my people shall be ruled according to your word. Only in regard to the throne will I be greater than you. What? Okay, Joseph goes from a nobody out in the desert to second in command in all the greatest nation on the planet, Egypt. Now, see, his brothers he took off his hand, it says it took off his ring, put it on Joseph's hand, he clothed him with garments. He had him ride in the second chariot. They all cried after him, bow the knee. And he set him over the land of Egypt. It says in verse 46, Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout the land of Egypt. Here we know the story, but here's the thing. His brothers didn't realize that dream God gave Joseph was for their benefit. It was to bless them. It was to keep them alive. And what happens is people will have dreams in the kingdom, and God will do amazing things in their lives or have big calls, if you want to call it that. And we compare ourselves to that. We can compare ourselves to, well, why does God love them more than me? Why is God going to do good things for them more than me? And we get that jealousy like his brothers got. And their jealousy actually drove him closer to the palace. Their jealousy and the way they treated him actually put him in the palace, fulfilling God's dream. How would if he had gotten there besides? I don't know. Sometimes we look at the bad, and his brothers saw it as bad, that I have to bow to you, not realizing, dude, if you don't bow, you die. You starve to death. You would have starved to death had it not been for Joseph, because everybody was in famine, and Joseph brought you and your entire tribe, all of Israel, to Egypt and fed you and took care of you. And you got to live in wealth because of your brother whom you despised and was jealous of. God used his dreams to bless you. God will always use the dreams of others to bless us. He's not out to say, I like you more than you. I love your dream more than you. I have better favor on you. No, everybody has their own gift and calling. And here's the thing. Would any of Joseph's brothers like to have gone through what he went through to get to the palace? Raise your hand.
Right.
Go ahead. You do it first. You go first. No, Joseph was on a journey that God took him through to get to that palace of what? Of character. I'm going to test you sexually. Are you going to be faithful to your servant even though you're a slave? Are you going to be faithful to your master? I'm going to test your character. Can you forgive? Yeah, he forgave his brothers who betrayed him. Can you forgive? The deepest betrayal on the planet is being betrayed by your parents, by your family. Yeah. The deepest betrayal you will ever experience is being betrayed by those you love deeply, your family or your spouse or husband or whatever. But when you're betrayed by the ones that you deeply love, you feel it. Yeah. Can you forgive them? And then he gets in prison. I'm going to test your patience. I'm going to test if you're going to say the thing that I tell you to say when it's not, when it's not popular. Yeah. When you have to interpret a dream and you're like, you're not going to like this. I don't think I'm going to tell you because It's not going to go well. No, Joseph's character was tested on so many levels. Even to speak truth to Pharaoh, Pharaoh could have just chopped his head off. And yet he stood before Pharaoh with confidence and said, this is what's going to happen. There's going to be famine, and you need to store up food. And he saved, Pharaoh, literally Joseph saved all of Israel, or all of Egypt, and in turn saved Israel. Egypt would have died. They would have all starved had it not been for one man of God, that God said, I'm going to take you to the pit, to Potiphar's, to prison, and then to the palace, because I see the whole parade. I see the whole of your life. I see it all, and I have great things in store for you, but that's not to say you're not going to go through some things that really upset you. Really not that great. But know this, that in the middle of it, I will be with you, and I will give you favor, and I will exalt you in the eyes of your masters, the prison guards. I'm going to still have my favor on you because I've never left you. So don't be discouraged. And we have to do that in life. We have to look at, I look at the building, it's taken sometimes so long. And you're like, God, this journey, I'm wearing my journey sailboat today, because when God told me this, well, it's been like going on 4 years ago. You've just started sailing. I'm like, what? What have I been doing my whole life? I remember, and it made me laugh when I read about Kenneth Hagin. He was in the ministry 30 years. When God said, you've just begun your ministry, he's like, huh? I've just begun my ministry? He's like, yeah, you've just begun. I mean, the thing with God is his time and our time is so different. Why? Because God takes us through testing and character building, and he does things in our life that causes you to be able to stand up and not quit. And sometimes you want to quit, and God goes, but I'm going to strengthen you, and I'm going to help you so you don't quit, 2 years down the road. So you're going to go through here, and you're going to learn this, because in 2 years you're going to stand. And every time we go through something, we trust him a little bit more. Sometimes we look back and we think, why did that happen? There's still things I have on the shelf, guys. There are still things in my life I have put on the shelf. The death of my mother, she's on the shelf still. I can't explain it. So I leave her there. I love, I'm patient. I told God when she died, we'll have a talk. When we're face to face, if that's what it takes. I don't understand everything, but I'm going to leave it right there. Because one thing I know is you are good. And that I can trust you are good. Things in life, sometimes we look at life as so final. And it's not. God doesn't forget our dreams, even if we do. God doesn't forget your dreams. He doesn't forget what he's called you to. And he will remind you, and he will at times come to you in the night and visit you and remind you of your dreams, not to lay them aside. Bring them back to life. Cherish your dreams. I want to just read a couple things. Here's a quote, Proverbs 23:7. For as he thinks within himself, so is he. Sometimes you got to think, you got to meditate. I've been doing this. I've started a business, or whatever you want to call it. I started doing things, trading online, and you have to believe in yourself. You got to believe in what you're seeing. And so every night now, before I go to bed, I write down in a journal 3 statements. We just started this heart thing for 30 days. And I write down, I see, I recognize, and I understand good patterns in the market. So you have to look at the graphs, and you got to see the pattern. I'm telling you, those patterns do all kinds of, if you were to look at it and not understand, you're looking at crazy. When I first looked at it and they're trying to teach me, I sat down and cried. I literally just cried. I'm like, this is above my head, God. This is above my head. But you know what? Now I don't feel that way. I'm starting to understand. Oh, I see the trend up. Oh, I see the trend down. I see the break. And I'm understanding more. I'm feeling more confident. But as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So my girlfriend gets me a cup that says, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Believe in the Jesus in you that gives you smartness. or grace to do what he's called you to do. Believe you can do the math problems, right, Glenn? You got this. Quote says, a man thinks, I'm not endorsing this book. There's a book online that's called As a Man Thinketh. And I haven't read it, but I like some of the quotes in it. This is one of the quotes. It says, men do not attract what they want, but what they are. Let that one sink in. You don't attract what you want, but who you are, but what you are. In other words, if you think you're a loser, I'm just a loser. You're not going to attract winners. You're going to attract losers because you think you're a loser. I can't, I never can, and give up. Many times, iron sharpens iron. You get around people that think higher than you, think greater than you, think more like, you know what, you got this. Are you kidding me? Get up off that chair. Stand up on your feet. You can do this. Come on, let's do. And they help us. You get around, like one thing I've learned, the wealthy get around people that think wealthy. Because wealthy thinkers don't think like poverty thinkers. Tasha and I were talking about that last night. I mean, Donald Trump, who's our president, went in the tubes a few times, but he always thought rich. He thought rich. So you end up attracting who you think you are. Change your thinking. Dream. A man is literally what he thinks his character being the complete sum of his thoughts. So you become the sum of your thoughts. Right here. I mean, Joseph had a dream. And I'm sure his thoughts were tested. I like to think Joseph hung on to his dreams. I like to think that in the middle of the pit, the prison, Potiphar's, he's remembering his dreams still. Because that's how I think God does. Cherish your vision, guys. Cherish your ideas. Cherish the music that stirs in your heart, the beauty that forms in your mind, the loveliness that drapes your purest thoughts. For out of them will grow all delightful conditions, heavenly environments of these. If you but remain true to them, your world will at last be built. Honor your gift. And I'm not going to go through them all because we're going to close, but right thinking begins with the words we say to ourselves. So you have a dream, start speaking it. You might not be able to tell everybody in the world. I mean, my husband talks to me constantly about the building. We're going to be in the building. We're getting it done. I see this dream. I see that he tells me all the time, I see this room full of people and so much joy in the room. There was so much joy. The room was full of people. And someone's up giving announcements that I don't even recognize. And he describes the person to me. And the children's ministry, it's the coolest. There's a stage and there's kids and there's so much, they're having so much fun. The children's ministry is amazing. And he had that dream going on 5 years ago. 6 years ago. How long has it been since your daddy's been gone? 2009. He dreamed it December 2008. He's never forgot it. Why? Because when you're in a place where you can't see it happening, you have to pull the dream out of your pocket and remember the dream. You just got to pull it out. And then you look at the immense, oh God, how are we going to get these furnaces? We didn't know. But in the middle, we have a free yard sale that blessed the community, and we meet the people that help us put the furnaces in for free. Who does that? Who saves you, what, $30,000? $30,000 saves you for free. Why? Because it's part of the journey. When you're in the pit, God pulls you out. When you're in Potiphar's house and the wife comes after you and you remain true to character, you get kicked into prison. It's a bad day, but you still stay true to character. And people go, wow, there's favor on you in this place. You can have a bad attitude. You don't. You have favor. And you come out of the prison because you use your gift. And you bless the king. You just bless the king. You're in his prison, but you still bless him. God says, I'm going to put you in charge. See, I want to encourage you today. What is in your heart that you've given up on? Pull it out. Start thinking about it. Start dreaming about it again. Start speaking about it. Well, I'm too old, Pastor Cindi. No, you're not. Are you living? Are you breathing? You're not too old. I'm too young, Pastor Cindi. No, you're not. God has dreams for you. Circumstances don't make the man. It reveals him to himself. You cannot travel within and stand still without. Move forward, guys. I love these lines. Circumstances does not make the man. It reveals him to himself. So I'm not going to read them all. I'll finish this out later, but I want to read you one poem, very short. It's one of my very favorites. I wrote this years and years ago for Steve Rakowski. It's called Eagle's Flight. Darkness all around, no hope for me in sight. The storm is gathering o'er, bringing with the darkest night. I will fix my eyes on Jesus and all that is above. Rest upon each promise, trust completely in his love. Knowing just above the storm clouds are golden rays of light where the sun is always shining and eagles oft take flight. So I will rise up like an eagle and soar above the clouds, catch the wind that's blowing and roaring oh so loud. The storm that would destroy me if I let it have its way is the same storm that will carry me to a brighter day. Whatever you're going through, whatever storm you're in, catch the wind and let it bring you higher. Don't give up, don't quit. Don't lay down. I preach to myself, guys, because the end is not yet. It's not over till the fat woman sings. Actually, it's not over till the barren woman sings, and that's in Scripture. I'm going to preach that sermon someday. It's not over until the barren woman sings. And when she sings, I'm telling you, God will make the barren to sing. Stand to your feet. Father, we just thank you for today. Thank you for your word. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your greatness, your goodness. God, encourage our hearts today to dream. Let those that have laid their dreams down, pick them back up. Pick them up. Pick them up. Father, I just thank you. I thank you. I thank you, Father.